everyone, I'm Emily from East African Playground. We've got an amazing volunteer opportunity coming right at you. So you track for 5 days, and on your 5th day you see the silverback gorilla. This is the only place in the world you can see them now in Uganda. And then you volunteer to build a playground for 9 days, and also you do art and play activities, but also we, as a charity, bring computers to the school, so you teach children how to use computers, because it's not a thing, they don't have computers in the school. And also there's additional activities such as African safari, bungee jumping into Nile, whitewater rafting. Thank you very much for your time, and please fill out your name, email address and phone number that I'll pass around, one at the front, one at the back. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Okay, so if you want to do something a little bit different to programming, you have your opportunities.
Yeah.
Let me carry on from where I left off earlier. So we were talking about JavaScript and web browser. We've seen that there are issues that browsers are not taking from standards maybe not very well defined. And I suppose that jQuery was a solution to this. So let's look at a little bit in a bit more detail at what jQuery is. So jQuery is, even today, the most popular JavaScript framework. Okay, widely used. So this is an old statistic, but it's probably still fairly true. Okay, so used by 55% of 10,000 most visited websites. It's a very easy to use tool. It saves you, a programmer, a lot of work. It's based on a plugin, so it's not a plugin-based architecture. That means you don't have to use all of jQuery at once. You can just choose if you want. It means that in terms of the amount of information that you have to download to the client, you can streamline that. Okay, you should choose the plugins that you want. And there are thousands of plugins, and most of them are quite well maintained. Not all of them, but most of them. What kinds of features do they have? So, key features, pillar features. Simplified access to the DOM. It makes it really easy to select elements, traverse elements, and make modifications to elements. None of this document will get element by ID, document will get element by name, none of this. Get rid of all of that, we do something much easier. In fact, we actually base what we're going to do with jQuery on the CSS selectors that you'd already be familiar with from writing Kafka in Starship. I'll give you some examples of that. Better events. So, at least more consistent events across browsers and the event object in different ways. jQuery extracts that away. Kind of hides the details. It provides support for things like effects and animations. So you can, using jQuery, very trivially make an element fade into a web page or fade out of a web page, rather than just appearing or disappearing. It's got support for something called Ajax, we'll talk about later. It provides those utility functions that makes it easy for you to determine the user agent, so you can find out which browser is being used. It makes it easy for you to detect features, so to find out what that browser supports and what it doesn't support. And perhaps then most importantly, it provides compatibility methods. So for things that browsers don't support by themselves, jQuery often has something built into it that implements that feature. Particularly important with older browsers. Okay, so it means that you as a programmer have to do less work, which is always a good thing. I mentioned jQuery UI earlier. So jQuery UI is a sort of sister project for jQuery. It provides user interface widgets that you can use in your applications and web pages users. And there are all sorts of widgets. There are everything from dialog boxes to things that let you pick dates, through progress bars and tab panes. These are the common things that you're probably going to use in a web application. You don't want to have to write them from scratch every time you use them. The jQuery UI makes it really, really easy. So, jQuery, how does it work? Well, fundamentally, it's all based around thing called the jQuery object. jQuery object is what powers the library, essentially. So let me give you some examples. Let's say that we want to select part of the document, select part of the DOM hierarchy to perform an operation. jQuery object is a wrapper for one or more parts of the DOM hierarchy. And in order to get that object, we'll use a function whose name is $. So the jQuery developers, they wanted a function name that was nice and short. They probably didn't want to give it a normal letter, because otherwise it kind of, well, it'd be a bit weird, but it probably interfere with your code. So they chose $, and they chose the $, character to be their function name. And here's an example of how we use it. So the $, function could, for example, be used to select every single div element in a web page. So if you just say $, and then in quotes div, that will select all the div elements in a page and give you a jQuery object that represents an array of all of those div elements. And there are many things you can do with this. So you can manipulate the DOM using the jQuery object. So here's an example. Selecting all the div elements, then selecting all of their parents, and then adding a class to all of those parents. So this one line of code manipulates potentially DOM elements all in one go. Okay? If you were to do this, so think about how if you were to do this in standard DOM without using jQuery. It would involve selecting those elements, it would involve looping through them with a loop, and potentially some other manipulation. jQuery makes this really, really easy. And it's quite readable as well. That's another key. jQuery provides a number of equivalent functions to sort of things that are built in. So one of the key ones is that it has an equivalent to the onload event. jQuery is a little bit more intelligent, basically. So in particular, the jQuery equivalent of onload doesn't wait for the images to load. It waits for the content of the page to load, except for the images. Fundamentally, the reason for doing this is it makes the page more responsive. It means that you're waiting there for the JavaScript to run before the user can use the page. How do you do it? Well, actually, the function that jQuery provides is called ready, and you just provide a callback function, closure to that will run when the document is ready, and then it'll run your code. Right. So how do you select elements of the DOM? We saw how to select this, but we can do way more complicated things. We can do really interesting things. And as I already said, the syntax for this is based on CSS libraries. So it's exactly the same syntax you use when writing your cascading style sheet. So here's some examples. So you can select an element by the name of the tag. That's how one we saw earlier with div. So in this case, there's another example, selecting all the paragraphs. Well, if you want to select something by ID, well, you put a hash in then the name and then the ID of the string. If you want to select things by class name, you use the dot syntax and you use dot class name. If you want to select, say, all of the paragraphs with a particular class name, then you do p dot whatever the class name is. You can select things like descendants and child. So you can select the first descendant of an element using using a space between the parent and the element, child element you want to select. You can do things like for the first directory of child as well. Lots of things. If you don't like that syntax, so you've got an alternative, you can use something based on XPath. Show of hands, who knows what XPath is? Okay, so the cluster of people are here, I won't do that. So XPath is essentially a language for querying XML documents, and it makes it relatively easy to extract information from XML documents. And its syntax is relatively self-explanatory. It's a bit like this, so it uses lots of slashes. But if you want to describe a path to a node in an XML document, then you can sort of write out the path by slashing through all of the elements. So if you wanted to find all of the divs inside the body of an HTML document, you could write something along the lines of /HTML/body / div. That would find all of the child divs within the body. The syntax for doing other things like selecting things based on their properties, on their attributes, so on and so forth. In general, the CSS syntax is cleaner and simpler. Okay. Fancy features. So sometimes you might want to select, say, every other div. Maybe you want to select every other row of a table. Why might you want to do that? Or maybe you want to shape them differently, dynamically color in the table. You can do that kind of thing. So there's all sorts of fancy filters that will provide this kind of functionality. So, for example, you can use odd and even to select the odd and even paragraphs or rows or whatever it is. You can even do things that inspect the content. So you could search for anchor tags which have got certain bits of text inside. So this is really powerful. In terms of events, if you want to connect an event to part of the DOM represented by a jQuery object, then you use a method called bind. And to the bind method, you pass the name of the event you want to capture and the function that's going to get called. And the types of event names are things like click, change, resize. Note that these are sort of vastly more, there's vastly more depth of events than you found earlier. Okay, so you can do a lot more things. There's an example here. So finding all of the anchors that have got href attributes, so all of the links to our web pages, and finding a handler that fires whenever a click is performed, and changing the color, or changing the CSS color attribute of that link. So every time you click on a link, in this particular case, it goes run the links will generate. Don't have to do this though. Right, you can do this with CSS with no JavaScript. And that's the proper solution, but this is just an example. What else? These non-methods. So the jQuery object provides ways of setting new attributes. You can set one attribute on many. You can create new elements. So in fact, to create a new element, you just pass a string of HTML to the default function. Obviously, when you create a new element, it doesn't insert it into the DOM hierarchy, so it won't appear on the web page. It'll only appear after you insert it. So there are methods that let you insert before and after other elements, for example. So in this case, we create a new string, except hello, which is in italics, and we insert it after a div with the class chapter, and which contains a paragraph. Then there are other methods. So there's a .html method which lets you pass an HTML to replace the content of an existing element. So you can completely rewrite part of the page or swap it with something else. Just set text content using .text, and .empty will delete everything. So tons of methods. And this is only a sample, so the documentation is the place to go to find out more. Right. Are there any... that was basically jQuery in like 10 minutes. So are there any questions at this point? No? Okay. Next. Client-server communication. So this is important for the coursework, as you'll see on Thursday. The web's obviously all about client-server communication. You load web pages, they go from the server, they go to the client. In traditional web coding, If you want to get information from the web page and send it back to the server, you do so with a form. And an HTML form has obviously got some fields in there where you can request information from the user, and fundamentally it's got a submit button. When the user presses the submit button, the information from the form is sent to the server. And it will be sent in one of two ways. It will be sent with a GET request or a POST request. And fundamentally, they just control the way that the data is encoded over the communication link. After that submit button has been pressed, the browser will load a new web page. It will load the results page. It's a completely new page. The problem with this is, from the user perspective, it's not very nice. It means that you've got a form, you press the submit button, you wait for a while whilst the server gets the data, and then a brand new web page flashes up and presumably gives you some information. It's not very slick. So, over the years, people have developed ways of using JavaScript to make this kind of interaction much more slick. So, JavaScript enables you to programmatically perform GET and POST requests. User interaction doesn't have to be involved. It doesn't have to be on a user pressing a button that this interaction is kicked off. You can just programmatically make it happen how you want. You could do it in a loop that maybe runs on a timer. You could do it on the when the page loads. Up to you as the programmer. What's the technology that enables us to do this? Well, it's got a name. It's called AJAX. Asynchronous JavaScript and X. That X originally, when this was developed, used to stand for XML. But these days, it's not really true. That X can be anything. It can be XML, it can be JSON, it can be HTML, it can be text, it can be whatever you want. It can be binary data. So, how does this work? So the key thing here is that AJAX does not require that the page is reloaded. You write a line of JavaScript that makes the request in the background, completely asynchronous. The A stands for, so it means that it happens at the same time that the user can be doing something else. When it gets a result, then your JavaScript handles the information that's being pushed back from the server and does something with it, and makes the user experience seamless. Inside web browsers, the way that this happens is there's an object called XML HTTP request. So you can see that the XML bit is even creeping into the name of the object here. This is largely a legacy thing. It's just the way that the specification develops over time. And as far as the user is concerned, the web page doesn't change. This is all happening in the background. Because it's asynchronous, the browser is still fully responsive. So if the user can be doing other things, they can still be playing with sliders, clicking on buttons, doing what they want. The browser is doing it all in the background. So there is a bit of a problem. XML HTTP request was something that was originally developed by Mozilla, so the makers of Netscape Navigator and Firefox and what have you. Around the same time, Microsoft made their own implementation. Those two implementations were vastly different in many ways. In particular, the name of the objects that you created in the browser to use them. They have slightly different behavior. You have to write a lot of code. If you want to use these things with their sort of native interfaces today, you still have to write a lot of code. You really want to avoid that. So that's why you use a library like jQuery. It doesn't have to be jQuery, it could be whatever you want, but you use a library. It makes it easier and it will work across all the browsers and deal with all of the little intricacies. To do an AJAX request in jQuery, you do something like this. So you say $.AJAX and then you pass them information. So the first block of information is a JSON object that describes the request that you want to make of the server. So in this particular case, we are saying do an HTTP GET from the URL /root/bar, we're saying that we're expecting the response to be XML. We're giving a timeout, so that's how long we're giving the server to respond. If the server doesn't respond in that time, then our JavaScript code will be alerted that an error has occurred, and we'll have to deal with that and potentially alert the user. Next, there's an error function, so that's the thing that gets called if the error occurs, whether that error is a timeout or whether it's something else. And then there's a success function, and that success function gets passed the XML data. And then you as programmers will take that data and do something with it. So, yeah, I've already said this, but let's keep hammering it in. The data type is XML, but typically you'll use other data types because XML is not very nice. One really common use is of this kind of technology is to go and load the contents of another web page and insert them into your web page. Maybe you want to insert a snippet of HTML into your web page. jQuery makes it really, really easy using the load function. So here's an example. Let's say assume that you've got an HTML element with the ID stats. And you want to replace its content with something loaded remotely, you just do something like this, so $#stats, so that's the element, and then you've got load, and then the name of the HTML file you want to load from on the server. And it will do everything behind the scenes, and swiftly load the content into your web page. Okay, so those examples, they were dealing with essentially getting stuff from a web browser or from a web server. Sometimes you want to be able to do the opposite. You want to be able to post information from the web browser to the server. Again, jQuery makes this really easy, and you use a method called post. That's all post. You say where you want to post it to, the URL on the server, and then you provide an object in a JavaScript object that's got all of the keys and the values of the data that you want to pass. And then you provide a callback function that will get called should it be successful. Ajax is really, really nice, but does have some big problems. So it's got two key problems. The first one is the security model. We'll talk about that in a second. The second one is the XML aspect. That I've already said that's not such a problem these days because you don't have to use it. With respect to the security model, web browsers will not let you make Ajax calls to URLs that are on different domains. This is to stop essentially major security concerns. Someone hacking your web page and maybe making it post all the data to someone else's domain. It would be one example. So you could, if it were possible to do cross-domain calls, it would be possible to maliciously come up with JavaScript that would steal information essentially. So you could imagine that you go to your bank, your online banking, and you go to log in. Someone maliciously alters the JavaScript, and then when you log in, it not only sends the data to your bank with your password and your username, but it also sends it to a third party. That's why they've disabled this in the web browser. With respect to the XML, well, XML is very tedious task, and that's why people tend to stay away from it. But there's a really nice alternative. We've already seen JavaScript object rotation. We've already seen that it's really, really easy to use the JavaScript literal syntax to create objects which contain data, just using pair of strictly braces and boolean values inside. It's a really nice serialization format. If we use that instead of XML, it makes our lives way easier. We'll see. So, with respect to the security model, there are workarounds. There are basically two things that are commonly used. The first of all is a standard called CORS. It's the Cross-Origin Resource Sharing system. This is a way that you can make your web server say that I'm happy to to send, to allow you to, on this web page, to send your data to a different domain. The problem with Clause is that you need to have access to the configuration of the web server. So if your web server is fine, but if you're hosting your web pages somewhere else and you haven't got access to the configuration of the web server, you can't use it. So it can be a bit problematic. The second alternative is actually quite nice. It's called JSONP. And we can talk about that. So, quick reminder, yeah, JSON equals JavaScript local syntax. JSONP is a way of getting around the cross-domain limitations. How does it work? Well, behind the scenes, JSONP works by dynamically inserting JavaScript into your web page. So actually what it does is insert a new pair of script tags that load data from another source. And interestingly, with the script tags, there's no restrictions on where you load JavaScript from. Only when you're using the AJAX call is there a restriction. So immediately you work around this problem. The only thing is that if you're trying to get some data from another server, and you are inserting script tags to get that data, you've got to know how to interpret whatever the JavaScript that you're getting back from the server is doing. JSONP solves this by formalizing it. And it formalizes it by requiring that you specify the name of a callback function. And what typically happens is that you make a call to a remote server on a different domain, and you say, I want some data, and you say, I want the callback function to be called X. That server does whatever processing it needs to do, and then it returns you a piece of JavaScript that looks like X brackets some object, close brackets, semicolon. So it's literally a call to some function called X that you've declared. When the JavaScript loads, that function called X that you've written in your code will be executed and it will be passed the data from the remote server. There's a standard way of doing this. So in order to specify what that X is, API calls, you specify a callback. And I'll show you an example in a minute. But fundamentally what's going on here is that the client is telling the remote server what function to call when the data is loaded. I think actually, I see this for a second, we might come back to it in a minute. Let me show you an example. So, let's assume that we want to write a web page, and in our web page we want some pictures to make it look nice. And maybe you want to get those pictures dynamically. So one good source of pictures on the web is Flickr. Flickr's got a really nice JavaScript API that supports JSONP. So with the Flickr API, we can ask for photos, and it will give us a list of JavaScript objects which represent photos, and in each of those it's got the URL of the photo. All we have to do, so this is using jQuery as the means of making this JSONP call, because it does all the work behind the scenes, is we say get some JSON. We provide the name, the URL that we're going to call. So in this case, api.flickr.com, blah, blah, blah. Note though that we, at the very, very end, specify a thing called JSON callback equals question mark. The jQuery getJSON method will find that question mark and replace it with the name of the function that it automatically generates. So that'll be the function that gets called when we get the data back. That actual function there, the function that says function data, that's the function that will get called. Obviously, in this point in the code, it's anonymous, so jQuery will take care of that for us. and ensure that once we've got the data back from the server, that function's called. That function, all it's doing is going through the data, through an array of JSON objects, and drawing the screen essentially. It's creating a whole pile of image tags for the web page. If we run that, we get something like this, or if I actually run it rather than showing you the slide, get something like this. So this is it running live. Okay, so this is just a really simple example of a JSON people hosting a file on my computer. Because it's hosted on my computer, it's only allowed to call things within my computer. But with JSONP, we can call a remote service, and we get a result back from that remote service without any of the security restrictions. And what we get? Well, in this case, we get lots of pictures of cats. And it's quite good as well, because the somewhat dubious image that was there this morning has disappeared. It's the internet, nothing can happen, right? Okay. I think I'll skip over the technical details slides. But if you're really interested in how this works behind the scenes, take a look at the slides online, and the sort of previous two slides talk through the inner details of how we would actually do this behind the scenes. It doesn't really matter from your point of view. You always use a library to do this because it makes it so much easier and you'll work so much less code. Okay. Being able to do AJAX requests is fine, but it's a bit limited. Every AJAX request opens the connection to a server, sends the data to the server, goes to the response, gets the response, presses the response, closes the connection to the server. This whole process of opening and closing these connections takes time. If you want to build an application that is incredibly responsive, maybe something like a game, a multiplayer game, then this is not really going to work. It's going to have major limitations. What you really want them to do is open a communication channel that's persistent. You want to open channel 1, you want to be able to share some data over that channel and then close it. Well, fortunately, with the advent of HTML5 and a specification called WebSockets, that's now possible. So WebSockets give you a fully duplex TCP connection. What does that mean? Well, it means that it's a two-way connection using both the client and the server. They can read and write at the same time on that channel. It's just a TCP connection, so there's no protocol. You've got to define the protocol yourself. So any communication that you do, you need to write the protocol for that. WebSockets is largely standardized. It's implemented in most of the modern browsers. Interestingly, the way that it works is by opening an HTTP connection and then transforming that HTTP connection to a WebSocket connection. It does that behind the scenes, so you don't have to worry about that. It's all done for you. If you see in code, ws:// or WSS://, that's an indication that the code is using WebSockets. That's the protocol handler for WebSockets. WSS being the secure variant. So what happens? Well, once a WebSocket connection has been established between the client and the server, you can send data now. And you're not really limited to what data you send. You can send anything. You can both ends. And yeah, as I already said, you have to define the communication protocol. In terms of what the browsers provide, we'll actually provide quite a nice API. So any browser that supports HTML5 WebSocket will give you a WebSocket JavaScript object. To that WebSocket JavaScript object, you can add listener functions. So functions that get called when events happen. So different types of events, there might be an error, be one, but the common one will be you received a message, you received some data. So the server sends some data to the client WebSocket says, I've got some data. I'll pass it to the function that the programmer provided. So that function there on message, the way that happens. You can see that there are other events that are on open and on close events for when the WebSocket opens the connection or when it closes the connection. Perhaps you want to be able to do things in the user interface. It indicates to the user that the connection's open or closed. There's the error one, of course. If you want to send data from your JavaScript code, well, it's easy. You call WebSocket.send, so a new WebSocket instance, you just call the send method and you pass it the data, and it will literally send that data over the wire to the server. When you finish, you close it. That's WebSocket in a nutshell. When it comes to the coursework that we'll talk about on Thursday, you'll see this in action, because the coursework is built around WebSocket. And if you look at the HTML, you'll be able to see code exactly just like that, opening connections to the server and performing communication. Okay, at this point, that's pretty much all I wanted to say about client-server communications on jQuery. We've got a few minutes left, so I need to do a check about the group project. So, first of all, who's not in a group? Yes. So have you emailed something? You're writing it, okay. So another group is going to get an email in there. Good. Okay. If anyone else is not in a group, please let us know. Out of those of you who are in groups then, have your groups decided what you're going to build? Is there a group who hasn't decided properly? Maybe have lots of ideas? No? You've all decided? Okay. Have you started building it? Who's started building it? Kind of got a little bit, okay. That's good. The rest of you is really, really bad. You haven't got much time, right? Do not underestimate how long this is going to take. It's a big piece of coursework. You've got to design and build something from scratch in, I don't know how many weeks it is, 11 weeks. And bear in mind that, as I said in the first lecture, the expectations are high. And you haven't got very many lines of code, so you've got to be quite clever. I think that's pretty much it. So the plan this afternoon, we're not going to talk about JavaScript. We're going to talk about cloud computing. Then on Thursday, we're going to come back to JavaScript for the last time. But we're fundamentally going to be looking at the coursework, and we'll spend a bit of time looking at Node.js and what that does, and Heroku as well, which I'll mention this afternoon. I'll hang around for a few moments if anybody wants any questions. If groups want to just double check their ideas are going to be fine with me.
那哥们儿呢？他们讨论他们做啥？
Any questions?
不知道。
Okay, so I'll see you again at 2.